Hi everyone, welcome to our video about what the BusConnects network redesign means for the people of Celbridge. The Planning, Development and Transport Subcommittee of Celbridge Community Council hosted an information evening and workshop on the BusConnects network redesign on the 28th of November. We decided to record the presentation and publish it online for the benefit of those who were unable to make the event. Our goal is to give you an overview of what the BusConnects network redesign changes mean for you and to provide guidance on how to give your feedback to the NTA. On the evening, we answered a number of questions from attendees, but we invite you to post any questions you have in the comments below this video. We also asked attendees to jot down their thoughts on the proposals, and this recorded presentation shares the outputs that we captured. If you have thoughts on how the NTA might best improve public transport for the people of Celbridge through BusConnects and/or into the future, please comment with those ideas below and be sure to include all views relevant to the BusConnects network redesign in feedback to the NTA before the 10th of December. We would like to thank those who joined us at the event and to thank the councillors who provided information and wall maps for the event. The National Transport Authority published revised bus network redesign proposals for the Dublin area in October 2019 and are seeking feedback from the public until the 10th of December. This is the second time the NTA has gone to public consultation on a bus network redesign for the Dublin area. Over 50,000 people expressed views during last year's consultation, and the NTA spent over a year analysing the issues and revising its design. The current proposals are the output from that exercise. The NTA describes the bus network redesign as the first step in a series of transformative changes to the Dublin area's bus network over the coming years. The other steps to achieve this transformation include building a network of core bus corridors on the busiest bus lines to make bus journeys faster, more predictable and more reliable, making payment much more convenient and increasing the efficiency of passenger boarding by facilitating cashless payments using mobile phones and credit and debit cards linked to payment accounts, introducing a simpler fare structure, allowing seamless movement between different bus services without financial penalty, building a network of park and ride facilities at key locations on national roads, rolling out a new bus livery to integrate bus vehicles of different operators and types, and providing a modern look and feel to the new bus system, improving signage and information at bus stops and adding new bus stops, increasing the provision of bus shelters, transitioning to a new bus fleet using low-emission vehicle technologies. A key piece of the overall jigsaw is the introduction of a simplified fare structure. The NTA plans to implement a 90-minute fare on the Leap card. Passengers using the Leap card would pay the fare only on the first tap at the start of the first leg of their journey. Further taps upon interchange to a second vehicle would not result in an additional fare being charged. This fare would be transferable across Lewis, Dublin Bus, Go Ahead Dublin, Dart and Short Hop commuter rail, but the NTA do not intend for it to be transferable to commuter routes like Bus Éireann 120, soon to be operated by Go Ahead Kildare, or the TFI 139 from Naas to Blanchardstown, operated by JJ Kavanagh. Commuters in North East Kildare rely heavily upon these routes. The NTA estimates that the 90-minute fare will be between €2.25 and €2.60, but the details have not been finalised. We asked them when they expect to roll out the new fare structure, and they replied that they would bring it in prior to the rollout of the network redesign. In addition to the 90-minute fare, there will be a lower fare for single trip short journeys. The BusConnects network redesign comes with its own set of terminology: radials, spines, branches, orbitals, local services, peak-only services, etc. This graphic gives a good illustration of how all the pieces slot together. The C4 is a radial bus route, that is, it radiates out from the city centre to Celbridge. A large portion of its route is shared by a number of other bus routes on what will be known as the C-spine, but the C4 branches off through Lucan Village, then on to Celbridge along the route of the current 67. A spine is a stretch of road shared by a number of buses that branch in different directions near the ends. The goal for spines is for them to be fast, frequent routes into the city that are useful to a vast area, so the C-spine would bypass Chapelizod Village, and there is a separate infrastructural project to enhance journey times along what will be known as the Lucan Core Bus Corridor. There will be a separate public consultation on this project in the new year. The C-spine will be shared by the C1, C2, C3 and C4 buses between Woodies Lucan and Ringsend. The plan is to stagger the departures of each of the buses that use the C-spine so that frequency of services on the spine would be on average every 8 minutes on weekdays between Ringsend and Woodies Lucan. Clearly, the key beneficiaries of this are the people living between Woodies Lucan and Ringsend, or those interchanging on this stretch of road. But those of us travelling to and from Celbridge need to avail of a single bus route that serves bus stops beyond the point where the routes diverge. This stretch of a bus route with less frequent services than the spine is referred to as a branch. The proposed frequency of the all-day C4 bus service is every 30 minutes, so there is no change to the frequency from the current level of service provided by the 67. There is no need to interchange at Woodies, as the C4 starts in Ringsend, but if there is concern about capacity on a Celbridge-bound bus, the option will always be there to board another C bus and switch or interchange to a C4 closer to Celbridge without incurring a fare penalty. This would allow you to board a C4 once it has emptied out. For a short video explanation on how a spine works, go to the link on this slide, busconnects.ie/1332/busconnects-03.mp4. Other parts of the Dublin area will be served by secondary radial routes that do not travel on spines. Such radials tend to take more meandering routes than radials that travel on spines. There are no current proposals for secondary radial routes to serve North Kildare. We have loosely used the term interchange to refer to switching between buses, but Liffey Valley Shopping Centre emerges as a major node in the proposed network, with a new bus interchange to be placed adjacent to the existing stop on the N4 to the north of the shopping centre. This interchange will provide direct connections between the C-spine buses on the N4 and various orbital and local services. Also illustrated on this graphic are orbitals, local routes and peak-only services. We'll see how these map to Celbridge on the next slide. This map shows the North Kildare towns of Maynooth, Leixlip and Celbridge. The C3 would replace the 66 and the C4 would replace the 67 as far as Celbridge. Both the C3 and C4 would go through Lucan Village, whereas the other C bus routes, the C1 and C2, will terminate at Adamstown Station after serving different areas of South Lucan. A new W8 orbital route from Tallaght to Maynooth would replace the leg of the 67 between Celbridge and Maynooth, so current 67 users on the Dublin Road who take the bus to Maynooth would need to take the C4 to Celbridge and interchange with the W8 to Maynooth, or take the C4 to the roundabout at the N4 junction between Leixlip and Lucan, then interchange with the C3 to Maynooth. The W8 orbital route would also serve many useful destinations and interchange points along the route to Tallaght. This route will open up many possibilities for residents of Celbridge. A new local route, the 259, would connect Celbridge with Leixlip by public transport for the first time. This connectivity with our closest neighbour would make a positive contribution to reducing the need for cars to make short journeys. The all-day sea services would be complemented by additional peak-only services on weekday mornings and evenings. The 327 would replace the 67X services that currently serve the Aggards Road, Shackleton Road and Clane Road. The 328 would replace the services that currently serve the Maynooth Road and Main Street. The new numbering scheme will add clarity on the return journey in the evenings. The route mapper, which we will come to soon, shows that the C-spine buses will cross the Liffey via Rosie Hackett Bridge before heading out Townsend Street and Pearse Street to Ringsend. However, the report states that the details of the city centre routings are largely separate from the rest of the proposed network, and as such will be progressed on a separate track from the network redesign as a whole. The C3 and C4 terminate at Ringsend, but the C1 and C2 continue on further to Irishtown and Sandymount. This map shows the routing of the proposed W8 orbital route past Hazelhatch and through Newcastle, past Greenogue Business Park and onto Saggart and City West, where interchange with the Red Lewis line will be possible. In addition to being a scheduled all-day service to connect with the train at Hazelhatch, this route would introduce interesting opportunities for interchanging with the local 256 and the peak-only 356 routes that serve the Nanger Road. Further on, the W8 continues from City West to Tala, which, in addition to having a hospital, TU Dublin campus and shopping, would be a significant public transport interchange point. The NTA developed a route mapper tool which is available on the BusConnects.ie website. This is like the existing TFI journey planner, but without the times. It is a really useful tool for understanding the best public transport options that would be available to you for getting to your chosen destinations. You have the option to include or exclude peak-only services from it. The proposal is for the 3 all-day bus routes serving Celbridge, the C4, 259 and W8 to run every 30 minutes. The W8 is the only orbital that will not benefit from greater frequencies at peak times, and while it is hard to predict how heavily used the route will be, there is a risk that the capacity will be insufficient to meet demand between Celbridge and Maynooth in the mornings. Greater frequency on the 259 would also make rail journeys more attractive. The network redesign report is vague on when the bus network will change, but the NTA are thinking of rolling out the H-spine routes to Howth first, with other elements of the plan phased thereafter. Some assurances have been given to our local councillors regarding the introduction of local and orbital services early, but the NTA has not outlined a clear timeline, other than to say that the changes will be phased between 2021 and 2023. This table summarises the changes by contrasting the current services with both what was proposed last year and what is proposed now. The NTA responded positively to feedback from hundreds of people last year who came out strongly in opposition to the abolition of the peak time express bus services to and from Dublin, and in opposition to routing of all buses from Celbridge via Barnhall and Leixlip in what would effectively be an amalgamation of the 66B and 67 bus routes. The new proposals reinstate the pre-25th of November 2019 level of 67X services and retain the current routing of buses past Weston. It should be noted that the proposals did not take into account the increased level of service on the 67X that was rolled out on the 25th of November. While we hope the NTA realises this, Feedback to them needs to emphasise the importance of replacing the 67X bus services with a level of service that at least matches the provision at the time of the cutover to the 327 and 328 peak-only bus services. The new proposals for the C4 are to retain the current routing past Weston rather than detouring through Leixlip to serve 66B users, as was proposed last year. The detour would have been costly, especially when Leixlip is congested, so this is welcome, but may pose a problem for current 66B users whose direct route to Dublin is being replaced by a local shuttle to Leixlip Village and Confey. To ensure that the NTA does not reinstate last year's proposal to route the C4 through Leixlip, all those in favour of the current proposal to route past Weston should express their support in feedback to the NTA. There are some positive proposals last year which thankfully have been retained. These include a 90-minute fare that is transferable across bus, rail and Lewis, the W8 orbital route connecting Maynooth to Tallaght via Celbridge, Hazelhatch, Newcastle, Saggart and City West, and the 259 local route feeding residents of the Clane Road and Aggards Road to and from Hazelhatch, and delivering a public transport connection between Celbridge and Leixlip for the first time. It should be noted that the 259 will not serve Intel, Leixlip Amenities or Louisa Bridge Station, but will pass Leixlip GAA on Green Lane. The NTA confirmed to us on the 28th of November that they have no plans to include commuter services such as the TFI 139 and Bus Éireann 120 in the 90-minute leap fare. They stated that, although these serve areas within the Dublin metropolitan area, they originate outside the Dublin metropolitan area and as such have their own fare structure. At our information evening and workshop on the BusConnects network redesign on the 28th of November, we asked attendees to brainstorm what they felt was good, what they felt was bad, and any ideas they had for improvements. We asked attendees to focus first on changes to the existing bus services to Maynooth and Dublin. We asked attendees how the changes would affect journeys that they make at peak times and off-peak times for all sorts of reasons, for work, college, school, shopping, medical appointments and hospitals, entertainment and leisure, socialising and eating out, visiting friends and family, etc. We then asked attendees to focus on the proposed new services and how beneficial the proposed 259 local and W8 orbital services might be to them. Again, we asked attendees to think about journeys they make for all sorts of reasons. We inserted new slides into our presentation to show the outputs from the attendees' brainstorming session. This slide illustrates points made by attendees regarding the proposals for radial journeys between Celbridge and Dublin. On the whole, feedback was positive. The fact that the C4 terminus is proposed for Celbridge would remove ambiguity regarding bus departure times for Dublin-bound passengers. On the flip side, those who need to travel from the Dublin Road to Maynooth would have to interchange either by taking the C4 to Celbridge and switching to the Maynooth-bound W8, or by taking the C4 towards Lucan and switching to the Maynooth-bound C3 between Leixlip and Lucan. Attendees were pleased that the all-day C4 will go past Weston like the current 67 bus route and that it will bypass Chapelizod. They were also pleased at the terminus in Ringsend due to access to the Grand Canal dock area and proximity to entertainment venues, i.e. the Bord Gáis Energy Theatre and the Point. Attendees were happy that an express bus service will be retained after the 2018 proposals to abolish them, and that these routes, the 327 and 328, would bypass both Lucan and Chapelizod like the 67X. The separate numbering for the route variants was considered useful for the avoidance of confusion in the evenings. The only concern regarding the express peak time services was fear that the level of 67X service at the time of the cutover might not be mirrored. The proposals are for 5 327 buses and 4 328 buses in the mornings and 4 of each in the afternoons, but the level of service increased on the 25th of November 2019 by an additional bus on each of the two route variants during both the morning and evening peak times in response to demand. This slide captures the suggestions for improvements to radial routes made by attendees. Suggestions include serving Lucan by a supplementary local route so the C4 could take the Lucan bypass, ensuring that the level of service on the express 327 and 328 routes is adequate for the needs of the population. Enhancing bus services from Newcastle to make it a useful interchange point for users of the W8. Routing the C3 via the Glen Easton Green Lane area in Leixlip to serve much greater population. This reflects a suggestion made in the Strategic Transport Assessment that was completed for Leixlip's most recent local area plan. This slide illustrates points made by attendees regarding the proposals for new bus services for Celbridge. Attendees were very positive about having a scheduled bus service to Hazelhatch train station from both the Maynooth Road and West Celbridge, but felt that buses may need to run at a greater frequency than every 30 minutes before a significant modal shift to rail would be realised, as there is a risk of significant waiting around to interchange. There was overwhelming support for all the destinations that the W8 would connect Celbridge to. For example, employment opportunities at Greenogue Business Park in Newcastle, City West, Maynooth and Tallaght, study destinations at the TU Dublin campus in Tallaght and of course Maynooth University, opportunities to interchange with other public transport services such as the bus at Newcastle, Lewis at Saggart and the bus or Lewis at Tallaght. Other useful destinations like Tallaght Hospital, the Square in Tallaght, etc. Concern was raised about capacity on the W8 between Celbridge and Maynooth due to known issues with the 67 that arise every September when students are back to school and college. This bus route will serve a number of secondary schools in both Celbridge and Maynooth, in addition to Maynooth University, which is expanding all the time. Regarding interchange opportunities in Newcastle, concern was raised regarding the frequency of the 256 and 356 routes from Newcastle. To be really useful for interchange, a far more frequent service would need to be provided. The proposed 259 connection to Leixlip was well received, as it would connect the neighbouring towns for the first time. It was hoped that this route would help reduce car dependency amongst those who need to make journeys to Leixlip GAA, Leixlip Town Centre and Confey, but concern was expressed that it would not serve any of Louisa Bridge train station, Intel or Leixlip amenities. This slide captures the suggestions for improvements to local and orbital routes made by attendees. It also includes suggestions regarding what will be needed in terms of rail service to realise maximum benefit from the proposed changes. Suggestions included early introduction of the 259 and W8 services, increasing frequency on bus services to offer a realistic alternative to cars, introducing a supplementary service between Celbridge and Maynooth at peak times, introducing a local route connecting West Celbridge with Maynooth, prioritising the destinations in Leixlip that residents of Celbridge most need to get to, such as Intel, Leixlip amenities and Louisa Bridge. The suggestion was to route the 259 past these destinations in tandem with routing the C3 along Glen Easton and Green Lane. Extension of the 258 from Liffey Business Park, Hewlett Packard, onto Hazelhatch via the bridge in Celbridge. Scaling the train service from Hazelhatch to complement the introduction of scheduled bus services to the station, and a PR campaign to promote use of rail from Hazelhatch through the day once it is served by the 259 and W8 bus routes. Having analysed the proposals, we asked attendees to focus on the types of journeys they make that would not be serviced by these proposals, and to suggest where they would like to be able to get to easily from Celbridge. We prompted them to think of all their journeys and not just work-related ones. Attendees made a number of suggestions regarding new destinations, ticketing, infrastructure, and measuring success factors. This slide shows the suggestions for new destinations and suggestions for ticketing. Blanchardstown featured highly as a sought-after destination, and the point was made that current proposals would see residents of Celbridge having to take 3 different buses to make the journey to key destinations in Blanchardstown. So the ask was to prioritise making this journey possible with fewer interchanges. The airport also featured as a sought-after destination. The fact that the bus Éireann 120 will not be included in the 90-minute fare between Celbridge and Dublin was seen as an issue, since this is the route to Dublin relied upon by West Celbridge. Inclusion of the leg of the TFI 139 route between Maynooth and Blanchardstown in the 90-minute fare would also make sense for a number of people who might avail of this service. Other suggestions related to efficiencies paying for fares. Attendees made suggestions regarding infrastructure, and while we include these here to do justice to the ideas, we would like to emphasise that these are not what the current public consultation relates to. Shelters at bus stops, real-time information and facilities at bus interchange points are important to passengers, as they can spend a lot of time at these places. The need to keep bus prioritisation measures front and central to any transport management strategy for Celbridge, and indeed other areas served by our bus routes, was emphasised. A significant point raised was that the BusConnects network redesign proposals do not articulate success factors. While the report refers to measuring the level of usefulness of the service in terms of the useful destinations that populations will be able to access, the report includes neither targets nor means to measure success. It is reasonable for designers of transport networks to focus on the usefulness of the destinations, but those responsible for the rollout of the network changes must have targets to meet which will spur innovation and publicity campaigns. Ireland has a target to achieve at least an 80% reduction in carbon dioxide emissions compared to 1990 figures by 2050. Unfortunately, emissions from the transport sector in Ireland have increased dramatically since 1990, so even getting back to 1990 levels will be a struggle. In light of the need to drastically reduce emissions from the transport sector, the failure to articulate success factors and how they will be measured was perceived as a significant shortcoming of the BusConnects network redesign proposals. Phew. Hope you're still with us. So the whole point of us holding the session was to increase awareness and to help people provide their feedback to the NTA. The closing date for feedback was extended to Tuesday, the 10th of December, but this is rapidly approaching. You can provide feedback in a number of ways: by completing the feedback form on the BusConnects website, by emailing your comments to consultations@busconnects.ie, or by sending your comments to the NTA in writing at the address on this slide. If you choose to submit comments through the feedback form on the website, you may find it easier to prepare your comments in a separate document and paste them into the text box on screen, as it is very small, so you cannot easily read back over what you wrote as you are typing. This slide shows some useful keyboard shortcuts, but really, emailing is easier. The NTA responded to many concerns raised during their 2018 public consultation, and they have come back to us with updated proposals. They want to be told if they are still missing something that is important to you. They want to know if you are going to have a loss of service that you depend on, and they want to know if you cannot see benefits from a proposed change. The best type of feedback you can give them will outline what you currently rely on, highlight the proposed change that you disagree with, and explain how the change will make things worse for you. Insights like this are far superior to angry, "this is rubbish" tirades, and will have a greater chance of affecting positive change. It is also very important to tell the NTA what they have got right. In addition to anything you may have issues with, the NTA would benefit from hearing what you are happy about. If you believe that all the proposals for Celbridge are positive, submit feedback to tell them this. Don't reserve feedback for complaints. We will post the individual slides containing the outputs from the brainstorming session to help you with your feedback to the NTA. Good luck with it and give them your feedback. Thank you very much for your time.